Cultural and identity, situating the individual. At one point or another in our lives, we all ask such questions as, who am I, and who and what helps define me? Pause for a moment and reflect upon these two questions. Let us now look at what identity means, what influences it, how we acquire it, and what the different social identities are. Identity is an abstract, complex, dynamic, and socially constructed concept. Identity is a part of the deep structure of society, which is why it is so difficult to pinpoint. However, if you have ever filled out a U.S. Census form, you will see that you are confronted with that question without using the exact words. What is your identity? The rapidly changing world order, globalization, and upheaval of traditional social structures are creating a high degree of uncertainty among many people. People struggle to adapt to traditional social structures with varying degrees. This is the time when people tend to seek out others with the same ethnicity, faith, economic interest, of political like-mindedness in order to cope. There is a sense of security in that. Of immediate concern to the study of intercultural communication is how identity influences and guides expectations about your own and others' social roles and provides guidelines for your communication interaction with others. For example, in the United States, the cultural model for classroom interactions between a professor and students is well defined. During lectures, students are free to ask questions and respectfully, or not, challenge the professor's assertions. Students are aware that the professor may call upon them to answer questions about the lesson, and this anticipation instills a motivation to be prepared. Identity as a professor or student provides the blueprint for classroom behavior. However, this blueprint does not necessarily apply everywhere around the world. Identity is not a single entity, but a composite of multiple integrated identities. They do not work in isolation, but rather operate in combination with others. For example, when you are in a classroom, your relationship is one thing with your professor and students, but if you meet them outside that environment, the relationship may be something else entirely. To better understand multiple identities, Turner provided 3 identity categories: human, social, and personal. Human identities are those perceptions of self that link you to the rest of humanity and set you apart from other life forms. Social identities are represented by the various groups you belong to, such as race, ethnicity, occupation, age, hometown, and others. Social identity is a product of the contrast between membership in some social groups and non-membership in others, i.e., the in-group/out-group dichotomy. Personal identity arises from those things that set you apart from other in-group members and mark you as special or unique. These may be innate talents, such as the ability to play a musical instrument without formal training, special achievements like winning an Olympic gold medal, or something as intangible as a gregarious personality. We'll examine the social identities which are of concern to us in this lecture. Let us look at gender identity. Gender identity is quite different from biological sex or sexual identity. Gender refers to how a particular culture differentiates masculine and feminine social roles. As Ting Toomey tells us, gender identity refers to the meanings and interpretations we hold concerning our self-images and expected other images of femaleness and maleness. Cultural influences on what constitutes gender beauty and how it is displayed vary between cultures. In the United States, despite the threat of skin cancer, many young women consider having a good tan to be part of their summer beauty regimen. In the Northeast and South Asian cultures, however, dark skin is considered a mark of lower socioeconomic status, and exposure to the sun is avoided. So important is light skin that both men and women often use skin whitening cosmetics. Language is another means of expressing gender differences. In Japanese, certain words are traditionally used exclusively by women, while men employ different words to express the same meaning. In English, there is little or no distinction between words used by women and those used by men. Familiarize yourself with other identities: racial identity, ethnic, national, regional, organizational, and finally, personal identity. We will even look at cyber identity and fantasy identities, which require a whole different field of study. A few points to remember. Identities are established through group membership and are enacted in various ways, such as rites of passage, personal appearance, and participation in commemorative events. It is also a changing concept that may be influenced by other identities and other circumstances, and so it is not necessarily static, but rather dynamic. Competent intercultural communication is achieved when the participants find commonality in ascribed and avowed identities. But most importantly, as society becomes increasingly multicultural, new concepts of cultural identity are evolving and will continue to evolve.